but there were definitely 9 to 12 foot skeletons found all over the planet.
And then those dwarfs, the ones on the island, I guess. What you
mean hobbits?
Yeah, hobbits. Well, what Harari talked about in this book was like this island had separated from the mainland, and like with
Atlantis?
I don't know what it was, but it was. What are you finding over here? The remains of giants were discovered in the small Ecuadorian village of Chongyamimi, said to connect to an ancient human race.
And everybody's okay with this?
I don't know.
Wait, there were humanoid giants, and no one's talking about this.
And such as the local, I'd have to. I'm very skeptical. Skepticism is my first.
Well, that's the scientific process. Is all hypothesis.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I'm all about skeptic.
I'm very skeptic here.
Think about the incentive to fake that. Like, why would anybody even waste their time taking a picture of that?
Well, it's a news story and it goes out. And you can talk about it. Whoever found it can go on YouTube and make a video. So there is incentive for conspiracy theories. I mean, they can.
That's not a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy implies what, Matt?
It wasn't Hawaii.
Implies conspiracy. What is it that whether or not bones existed or not, it's not a conspiracy theory.
Well, whether
you have to have these explicit
bones are actually really belong to a human. You and me could have a conspiracy where we want to sell some fucking books and we want to sell a podcast and we want to make a magazine and marketing. We want to go on YouTube and pump up our channel with viewers, right? So there's an incentive there to say, hey, look, I found a dog that's 50 feet tall. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not saying. Like you said, my first hypothesis is a null hypothesis. I'm skeptical until proven.
That's my.
Whereas from my research
is contrarian bear.
Like looking at
despise everything, take a negative nihilistic position out the gate, and prove to me you're worthy of any iota of my time.
Exactly.
And analysis. Like that is the best setting.
Yeah.
However, the sheer quantity of this evidence that I've seen in the last 20 years would point to there's something there, basically.
They're there for what? Like
for the existence of giants.
For the existence of
giants. And there are tons of photos.
200 feet is like, that is
37 meters is big. Like that.
Like 200 feet, that is like, that's a giant. That's not like somebody like 9 to 12 feet. Like, okay, like I could see that. But like 200
just because you can't
feet.
Conceptualize it doesn't mean it did or did not occur.
True. But like, if there's a megafauna like that, there has to be other megafauna that
were. Look at the trees in the Midwest.
What do you mean the trees in the Midwest?
A lot of those were giant trees.
Yeah, I mean, there's still giant trees like in California.
What you see in the desert West, a lot of those are trees, old trees with giant. It looks these huge. I think basalt's the right word. This is Graham Hancock, not me, full disclosure. This is definitely from a podcast on Joe Rogan, and I go look up stuff. So not thoroughly vetted, fact checked, but I'm not a freaking, I'm not a biologist, and I'm certainly not an anthropologist.
So like I want to talk.
Nonetheless, the logic and reason behind that, and then the visual, whether faked or not, it's like, holy crap, those are trees.
Yeah,
I can see it. You can see the rings. So my point is,
trees is one thing. I mean, a 200-foot human they're not eating trees. I mean, they need.
No, I'm just saying large flora and fauna exist. Dinosaurs.
Yeah, dinosaurs for sure, no doubt. But like,
how do you mean no doubt?
Well, yeah,
those bones could be faked. I mean, we can make that same argument.
Not necessarily.
The religious scripts, Abrahamic religions denied the existence.
True, they still do.
Yeah,
there's evangelicals,
Jews, Christians. Yeah,
this is
they all do. Hindus deny it too.
I read something that said like, what was it? They said that like this was a trick that was put there or something like that. But I mean, I grew up as a young kid. I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be
I love dinosaurs.
An paleontologist. That's what I wanted to do. I mean, dinosaurs was.
I specifically wanted to be an archaeologist.
Man.
My parents would
go see bones. Digs, I take my kids there too now. I mean, it's that's like my thing. So
it's super radical.
Yeah,
and I like initially the thesis where Archaeopteryx was the like transitional evolutionary being from the raptor to bird essentially.
Yeah.
And then wait a minute, of course that's there. Like I kind of fought it initially because I was so by the book archaeologist, and I think I was like 9 or 10 when that started coming out. Like it was shortly after Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
but then when you look at the mechanics,
did you see the renderings of like of where they attach the feathers and the color? You know how they figured that out, right?
And you look at
how they figured that out.
I don't know how
they actually the color of the the feathers and of the pigmentation leaves certain like trace in the bones. So I believe they like found some of these amino acids or whatever it was,
produced a certain hue,
certain color, hue type stuff. So they were looking at doing some like that's how they kind of figured out. Okay, there were feathers there. It's very cool, very cool, very cool. But
as flawed as carbon dating is, things like that make up for it.
Yeah. Right. Well, everything has its flaws. You can only push things so far.
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfection.
And I guess
perhaps water.
I will say that going back to Yuval Noah Harari, a lot of his shit is just extremely radical. But he's a communist and he believes everything, and the market is a story. I mean,
he's a coward and a psychopath.
Yeah. But I did find value in his book, and I thought it was well done. I thought he told a cool story, and I enjoyed reading it. But I do definitely disagree with him on a lot of things. So,
we have free will.
Like black and white, there's gray. I think he truly believes what he's saying.
Oh, that I will give him.
I don't think he's full of shit. I think he truly believes what he says. And again, but nobody's right on everything, right? Like I'm wrong on all sorts of shit. I hope my wife doesn't watch this.
Well, she knows, or she wouldn't be your wife. They know better.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But dude, the one thing that's synonymous with people like that is coward and communism go together. I forget who exactly said this, but it is the philosophy of envy.
Interesting. That is so true, though, if you think about it.
It's a relatively recent phenomenon. This is a 20th century crisis. Nonetheless, all of this bad led to something I think is paradigm shiftingly good, to make up an adverb, shiftingly. And when I read the white paper because of my wife, I was like, what? Because there's a quote from Hayek.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, no one's going to vote in this, or no one's going to agree to give up their power willingly, right? There's got to be this sleight of hand. Quote, right?
It's actually the first quote of in the series is launching with it's a 10-episode series that I did with Aaron Van Weerdam, who wrote the Genesis book. And that quote is the opening quote of his book. We'll never have a good money again until it's taken out in some sly roundabout way out of the hands. It's something along that extent, right. To the hands of government, right? So
and that was imprinted into my head. I don't know when I read Road to Surf. I had to be a sophomore, junior in college, right? And sorry, honey. And so I got it immediately. And then I was like, well, there was already Magic Internet Money, David Chaum.
Yeah.
And I had paid attention a little bit to tech and software, just being, wanderlust and being into kind of electronic trading and looking into the backbone of what that was. And then around 2013, I got some playing poker in Costa Rica, and then
it's so funny. I did the
hook, line, and sinker.
Shit. It was like American Card Room or something like that. I was like, oh, I can withdraw this. Like, what is this?
And then I was like, oh, this really is Magic Internet Money. And then we made the switch professionally in 2017.
Wow. What? How does that influence your approach with Hyperion Decimus? And tell us about Hyperion Decimus. I saw you explain this somewhere else before, but tell me about the.
I did?
I saw it somewhere. You explained, I don't remember where, you explained like what Hyperion Decimus meant.
Oh, the etymology behind the word.
Yes.
Cool. Well, so
I can't remember where I saw that.
Hyperion's a Thracian name for Apollo.
Okay.
But it's also a god of truth, wisdom, and light. And then Decimus was the general that fought back against Rome.
Ooh, I love that.
Wow. And I credit my partner, Chaim Bodek, with that part. But this is like my partnerships are some really heavy hitter types that are really unselfish. Nobody needs notoriety, including me. Like some of this, the only reason I'm willing to do this is not to build the brand. Certainly, I don't even have social media. Obviously, LinkedIn's the only thing I have. I suck at sales and marketing. If I were good at it, I'd have a lot more Satoshis.
Yeah.
But it's largely to try and wake people up with the little time I think we have left.
Yeah.
And then my partnership is like a family, and we're nerdy warriors to a degree, but there's very few humans with the acumen and humility with respect to markets that my team has. And I learn from my partners every day.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Got any good stories from when you used to work at Morgan Stanley? Like,
Yes.
it happens on mine.
They'll sue me if I say anything.
Fuck.
You know they will. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's fine. But now if I said that, yeah, of course they'd sue me.
Really? What about that other company you worked for? Sorgan Manley? Tell me about some stories about Sorgan Manley.
Well, I'll tell you, I love Johnny Mack. He was a great CEO, and I'm not kidding. The calls that he would have like on the fly as ATM stopped working and stuff. I mean, he was like the captain steering the ship in the storm. Like he really was a very honorable, respectful man who I looked up to then and still do now for what was going on. And then I could tell, certainly later after I reappraised everything, he knew that the sleight of hand was occurring against him, against Lehman Brothers, against Bear Stearns. That was taking out the competition, consolidation, defaulting investors, making dumb investors poor again. And then we're going to set up this new pathway of control, which is we're going to own all the freaking residential homes. Before that, no big publicly traded firms held homes in mass. It was illegal, I believe, through the 60s.
Yeah.
RFK talked about this relatively recently, and I think it's 62% of U.S. residential homes are owned by institutions.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane.
Right.